This video is sponsored by Toolpath.
We had a production problem, so we invented it. It sat on a shelf, and then we didn't come back to it for a couple of years.
At Gimbel Automation, success didn't start with the first brilliant idea. It started with something sitting on a shelf. Something built out of necessity, and then moved on from.
We had one kind of good running version, definitely not super polished or anything.
They didn't know it then, but that forgotten tool would become the foundation of their entire automation business, turning machines into robots.
The automation business is taking off. The people who are using the products love the products.
Let's get into that on this episode of Smarter Shop.
Hey, Al.
Hey.
What's going on?
We're ready to see another Smarter Shop.
I am. So tell me about it. Tell me about Gimbel Automation.
Gimbel Automation is all three of the points of a Smarter Shop.
Okay.
The Smarter Shop touches the part less with the human and lets the machine handle the part.
Okay.
A Smarter Shop knows what to say no to.
Yep.
And then the right things to say yes to. And then finally, a Smarter Shop, there's always a spirit of innovation.
Innovation.
And in the case of Gimbel Automation, they took internal innovation and turned it into a product. And then Michael's just constantly innovating to the point that I kind of like to call him Inspector Gimbel.
And once you spend a few minutes around Michael, you start to understand why Al calls him Inspector Gimbel. He's always working on something. Some ideas hit, some ideas don't. But one of them ended up changing the whole business.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having us.
How's it going, Al?
MC.
Hi, Michael. Thank you.
I was telling MC a bit about your product, but maybe you can do the segue there.
We grab a spindle gripper here. So, we're kind of unique. We obviously make a lot of our own parts. We're the OEM that makes automation parts. And this is a spindle gripper. So this is one of the flow link grippers, which is one of the initial products that we launched. And before we were an automation company, we were actually a contract manufacturer.
Now, what does a spindle gripper do? In simple terms, this turns the spindle into a kind of robot hand. With an air-actuated gripper mounted to the spindle, the machine can physically pick parts up, transfer them, and load or unload them as part of the cycle. So instead of relying on a separate robot or cobot for part handling, Michael found a way to use the machine's own motion to automate the job. And for a lot of smaller shops, that's a pretty groundbreaking idea because it means automation doesn't have to start with an entirely new system. Something we actually saw a one-man shop use in a previous episode. It can start with the machine you already have. And for Michael, that idea didn't come from a grand plan. It came from a production problem.
So we had production jobs that would come through. I'm tired of hand loading them. And we found out about spindle grippers and automated part handling. We wanted to implement that, but there was nothing compatible with our machine. Pretty standard HOS VF2. So I invented a system called the flow link system to basically enable the gripper to open and close through a bypass block.
The bypass block is what? Sorry.
It's just a block that bolts. I don't have one here, but it's a block that bolts onto the bottom of the spindle.
Okay.
And that allows air to basically be passed through that block, through here, through a rotor union, and then the gripper can actually actuate.
The surprising part isn't that they built it, it's that after it worked, they moved on.
So again, how long was this spindle gripper on the shelf before it came back?
Yeah, it was
main
about
product?
2 years between that initial. So there was actually, I think, a couple prototypes to get it to run that production job. And we had one kind of good running version, definitely not super polished or anything, but it did the thing. It had the bypass air. It worked with that machine. And then from there, we basically were able to, run that one production job. And that was all we thought of it. It was here's the problem, let's solve it. And then we moved on.
But it's a good thing they eventually came back to it because once they realized what they had, that one simple gripper became the starting point for something much bigger. What began as a way to automate one task grew into a whole lineup of machine tending and in-machine automation systems. And as Michael started showing us around, you could really start to see what that idea had grown into.
What are we doing on this run?
This is another thing we built it for ourselves. This is an IntraLoad pallet tending cell. And basically what this does is it puts a rack of shelves inside of the machine, physically 100% within the existing footprint in the kinematic dead space. And we basically have implemented our own PLC, our own auto door, full communication between our system and the HOS control. And by doing that, we're able to fully automatically do pallet exchanges in a way that's just as secure and reliable as a robot. So normally, obviously, you would machine the component, but just for the demo here, we're going to grab the unmachined component on the vise. We're partnered with Fifth Axis and Pearson Work Holding on basically we sell these systems as entire solutions. And we grab the pallet that has our raw stock inside of it, automatically load it, and then the system will automatically run the machining toolpath to machine the component after it closes the auto door, then open the auto door and continue doing that as many times as you command it.
So the IntraLoad is taking the place of like a robot would?
So yeah,
essentially?
Unlike
not taking the place.
Unlike part tending where we're loading individual components, the IntraLoad is doing pallet tending, loading pallets.
Okay.
So this solution is really great for high mix, low volume kind of work. The stuff that you would see in a job shop, right? They just have to have the right size pallet for their work envelope. And then it's just a flexible drop-in solution.
But again, the genius here is you're using the existing axes of the machine instead of a robot that's got to have its own axes.
Yep.
But for every idea that pushed the business forward, there were others that didn't make the cut. And Michael wasn't shy about showing us one of them.
So everywhere we look, you got like another good idea that you
Exactly.
use. How many of them failed?
There's a decent amount. So like right here, this is
Right here.
Yeah, this is the kind of predecessor to the IntraLoad. This was Rev 4 of the conveyor loading system. This is the old control. The Rev 5 was the final rev of our conveyor before we discontinued it. This was actually a brilliant product we built for ourselves as well. Essentially, it had a row of components. The auto door came up. We built some auto doors. And then a gripper would grab the component, put it into an auto vise. But when we launched the IntraLoad, we pretty much instantly were outselling our conveyor system 10 to 1. So it became clear, like, okay, we're going to discontinue the conveyor.
By this point, it was pretty clear that Michael doesn't have a shortage of ideas. The real skill is knowing which ones to keep chasing and which ones to let sit for a while.
It takes discipline to leave things on the shelf and to learn when to do it and when not to give up, right? That's something I've really come to try to thread the needle on, especially over the last couple of years.
Have you got better at identifying a failure quickly?
I think one thing I've learned, all of these systems you're seeing here, we've kind of invented. There was nothing analogous to the IntraLoad.
Right.
No one has made kind of an integrated gripper automation ecosystem before. Those things are so new. I have learned there's a lot of value into just, disrupting the market in ways that aren't just innovation. Whether it's cost, whether it's business model. We did some of that by combining, offering, being the OEM making the automation stuff and being the integrator to help people integrate it, right? That's an innovation in business model, not just in product. I think kind of the final thing and a little bit of where we're going, the IntraLoad is an awesome system, but at the end of the day, it is limited by the kinematic space in the machine.
Right.
With a UMC 500, typically 9 full-size pallets, a 750, 16 or 20, a 1000, maybe 30. But a lot of customers still do want, a more traditional pallet pool automation system. And that's actually something called the IntraLoad that we're looking to have kind of into alpha beta testing Q1, Q2 of next year.
Okay. That was pretty cool.
Smarter shop.
Smarter shop.
What were the
Hit
three
all
things we're
three.
looking for?
Okay. Humans touch the part less. Automation.
And he's got the gripper, the basket. He showed that to you?
Yes. Vice,
Okay.
all of it. Then we go to innovation. Innovation. I'm not sure I've met anyone that has innovated so much on a regular basis over and
Inspector
over.
Gimbel.
There it is.
There it is.
And then the what to say no to. I mean, he definitely has taken that from all of, throughout his whole entrepreneurial career or vision, because he did tell us some side stories of a couple failures that happened. But with that came innovation, and with that, what to say no to.
So I hope people watching get a good sense of how products are born, the innovation, constantly saying no.
Thinking, and yeah, I mean, we'll keep seeing the amount of innovation that's happening in manufacturing technology now, and you got to keep up with it from the shop level all the way up to the large scale manufacturers.